Bahamian students conducting innovative research in economics, finance, or business that could impact the Bahamas. If your completed work is fit for publication, you could be one of 5 finalists in the 2024 T. Baswell Donaldson Research Competition and claim your share of $50,000. The winner will receive $30,000, and all finalists can participate in a research fellowship with the Central Bank of the Bahamas. Submission deadline April 30th, 2024.
Whether you're shopping for Mother's Day, Father's Day, back to school, or any occasion for that matter, you are sure to find exactly what you're looking for at the Brass and Leather shops. Great products like handbags, wallets, backpacks, luggage, belts, shoes, and more are awaiting you. Brand names at the best quality and reasonable prices. Lamb, Rioni, Kipling, Guess, Travel Light, Herschel, and more. Shop any of our locations. Downtown Charlotte Street, Mall at Marathon, Old Fort Bay Town Center, the Luggage Store at Palmdale, and also in Marsh Harbor, Outcome. Be sure to shop Brass and Leather shops. You'll be glad you did.
This is Global Radio 99.5.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. Break every chain, break every chain, break every.
Just want to wish those of you a pleasant good afternoon. Truly, there's power in Jesus, the person, to break every chain. Today, you're listening to the program Transforming Lives on Global 99.5. My theme for 2024 is Jesus and More in 2024. Well, welcome those of you joining us by the radio. That's Global 99.5. We say hello to those. We like to say Grand Bahama in the north to Inagua in the south. We also want to join you who are listening by cable TV 974. And so we just always want to acknowledge you because we recognize that the majority of the persons who participate in the show, listening by the radio or cable television. We also want to welcome those of you joining us on the Facebook page, David Williams, Transforming Lives. So if you wish to get a copy of the show, you can always go on those pages, David Williams, Transforming Lives, or even Jackie Gardner page and pull down a copy of the show, as well as YouTube channel, Transforming Lives Radio Show. You can also get a copy of the program on YouTube. Those of you who are live with us interacting on Zoom, we welcome you here today again on this program, Transforming Lives. We're here every Sunday on Global 99.5, Cable TV 974, Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. Thank you for joining us today. I just want to make a few announcements, and then I'm going to go to 5 minutes, Moments with Christ. Yesterday, Prison Fellowship Bahamas, of which I'm one of the board members, we had an awesome service at Chapel on the Hill. We honored 20 plus volunteers. They were either 10 years in the service or 65 years. Thank you, Joan knows, so she's listening on the radio. And so we honored those individuals. It was a wonderful service when there were calls to cancel because of the rain. But 120 plus persons showed up and were honored for the work that they did at the Department of Corrections, formerly known as the prison. We also had a service there today, 9 o'clock. We thank our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for those 10 men who responded to the call to make a surrender and a commitment of their lives to Jesus Christ. And we give thanks to them. I know some of them said they will be listening in. So a special hello to those of you who were at the service this morning. And even if you were not at the service this morning, but you're listening in now, that's at the maximum security, as well as at the medium security. And if there are some at the female section, these are the sections that I in on a regular basis. And those of you who are part of the class Wednesday, I will see you on maximum this coming Wednesday at 10 a.m. as we continue our classes. And so what we're doing is we're taking them through a classes studying the book of Luke, and there's a graduation plan. So if you have a relative who is incarcerated at the Department of Corrections, I know they're part of the class by Prison Fellowship. We have written a commission for permission to have the families attend the graduation services. We're planning for the 15th of next month, 15th of April. That's the proposed date. Also want to remind of a number of events. The big tent starting next Sunday, Gladstone Road. You should hear more about that next week. So we want to remind you, prepare for that, put on by the South Bahamas Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Also, Easter Monday, there's a cookout at the Grantstown Seventh-day Adventist Church. We're inviting you to be a part of it to support the Pathfinders. And then we want to also remind you this week, Monday, Men Speak. Why do men cry? Pastor Randy Hanna will be our speaker, Chapel on the Hill. It's open to all men. So we're inviting you, if you are a male, 18 years and older, we're inviting you not to meet us there. You are to beat us there as we talk about why do men cry, or should men cry, or if they cry, how do they cry? And we also have Domino's, we have checkers, we have pizza, we have potato chips, we have backgammon chess. So spread the word for me. My number is 433-6917. I repeat it again, 433-6917. We want as many men to come out. Let's sit around the table and let's discuss some of the challenges as men that we are faced with. The speaker speak for about normally 10 to 15 minutes, 5 minutes question and answer. And we spend the next hour and a half playing dominoes, chess, checkers, various other games. And it's a bonding time for men. So that's tomorrow, 6:30, Chapel on the Hill, the Tanique Williams Darling Highway. Also want to remind you there's a national meeting. The Ministry of Youth has commissioned in May, National Boys Week. And so we're planning a week of activities. And there's a meeting at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture conference room upstairs, 6:30 Tuesday. So if you are involved in any boys program, whether it's in the primary, the junior, the senior school, we're inviting you to meet us there, beat us there, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture conference room, 6:30. That's Tuesday afternoon. And Wednesday, we continue with our community walkabout. And so if you want any more information, WhatsApp me at 433-6917. And last but not least, Father's Day coming up. So to my people who have sponsored us, we're having a big service for the men at the prison, Father's Day. That's the Saturday before Father's Day. You will hear more about it. Today, we always begin this program, and thank those of you who have joined me by Zoom. I always like my Zoom participants because we get to interact. And so today, we have, as usual, 5 minutes. We call it Moments with Christ on this program. We acknowledge here that outside of Christ, we can't do anything. And when we talk about Christ, we're not talking about a church or denomination. We're talking about your personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Dr. Macmillan, welcome, sir. I've been missing for 2 weeks. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It is good to be with you again this afternoon. You sound up as old times in Christ Jesus. And I am honored and privileged to be able to take these few seconds to speak about the most important subject that you can have on your list, and that's concerning Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
Who is eternal, who is all-powerful, who is so loving, so kind, so understanding. It's amazing. And I congratulate you to maintain this particular aspect of your ministry to the people in the Bahamas and elsewhere, anyone that may be listening. This afternoon, I want to stress and remind each individual who already know the Lord Jesus Christ, and those of you who don't know him, get to know him, for this aspect of Christ is so true. He will keep his promise. He will keep his word. And for this week, we are studying the importance of waiting on him. When he makes a promise, we can trust in that promise and patiently wait for it. Last week, we attended the funeral of someone who passed their sleep. Today, I attended another funeral of someone that was in the community, but is resting today. Why do I mention that? It is important to be waiting and trusting in Christ while you are alive, for that guarantees the fulfillment of any promise, anything that you're waiting for the future, for it will happen. So trust in him, wait in him with all of your heart, be of good courage, and he will bring it to pass.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mark. I support, endorse everything Pastor Mark said. Jackie and I, as co-hosts of this show, both of us attended the same funeral last week. So last week, this time, we were in a funeral service. My best friend, his wife, died on the side of him, and that's something to think about. To remind you when they say husband and wife shouldn't go to bed mad, because he thinking she's asleep, only to discover that she was not asleep. She had passed from, they say, time to eternity. And so Jackie and I attended, that's my best friend, his wife's funeral last week, Sunday this time. And so today, folks, I also have on, just to let you know, next week I have Superintendent Leonardo Burrows is on. He'll be our guest along with two others from the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And they'll be talking about a special program that the Royal Bahamas Police Force is putting on. And who knows, maybe you may be able to throw out one or two other questions you may want to ask them in regard to community policing, but that's not their topic. But they'll be our guests next week. And so now I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Jackie Gardner. She's going to tell you, introduce our guests, and they'll be sharing for the rest of the program. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you so very much. Happy Sunday to everyone. It is a beautiful Sunday after having severe weather conditions. It is really, really good to see such a beautiful day. So yes, friends, once again, we are so happy to invite you to Transforming Lives. And so we're asking you right now to call any and everyone, invite them to come and listen, join in the conversation, because it's a very interesting, informative conversation we're having today with our very special guest, Miss Kimball. So let's give you a moment. We're calling all our friends on Facebook. We're calling you whether you're on cable TV. I see Mr. Roger Bain just signed in and say he's here in the room on Zoom. So we're also always happy to have those in Zoom, because you make our show very interesting. Like we say in the room, you're more interactive, and we're getting more feedback from the Zoom room. Thank you. Welcome to Transforming Lives. Now, today we're going to be talking about Baark. Now, a lot of persons get Baark confused with Bahamas Human Society and some other organization, but we thought it very fitting to center our conversation this beautiful Sunday on Baark. And Baark provides a lot of services in the Bahamas. You might have looked on Facebook and you hear all kinds of feedback about the dog problem we have in our country. I know in some of the areas in particular, we've seen some really, really disturbing comments in terms of the state of our condition, the state of our country when it relates to the dog situation. So we have Baark present, and in a few minutes, we're going to be entertaining a very, like I said, informative conversation. But just before we do that, we have Ms. Munnings from Munnings Consultancy, and she is going to do a very brief promotion, and then we will continue with our conversation. Ms. Munnings, are you in the room?
Yes, I'm right here.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Gardner. Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm excited about hearing the conversation with Baark, because they do great work. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Thank you so much. I'm also all about transforming lives. And I am here today to let people know about a webinar that I'm hosting Actually, it's mainly geared for working women. I'm realizing now the flyer that I have doesn't specifically say that it's geared to women, but because we had International Women's Day earlier this month, I thought it would be a good idea to talk to women about handling stress in the workplace, how to get ahead without going crazy. Most of us in the Bahamas, most women are working women. We have, we have families, we have persons that we look after, as well as working full-time jobs. And so what I'm doing is I'm bringing my background as a retired judge with over 30 years in the law, between practicing as a lawyer and in public practice, private practice. So I've been around the courts a lot. And I know a lot about conflicts and conflict resolution. And I have a lot of insight into things that people could do to avoid getting to that point where they have to go to court, as well as a wife and a mother. My children are all adults now, but I had a family and I was responsible for going to work every day and, doing my part to earn a living to support the household while also raising 4 children who had after-school activities, after-school activities, and homework. So I am bringing my perspective as someone who knows about conflicts and where that could lead, as well as a working woman with a family who wants to get ahead in her career. So that's going to be my topic, handling stress in the workplace and how to get ahead, because that's what most women want. We're not just working for working's sake. We also want to get ahead.
Right.
But, the stresses of it can seem like they're driving us crazy. So this Wednesday at
Okay.
8 p.m., it's going to be online, and it's going to be 1 hour. I have 3 main areas that I'm going to go into. There's going to be question and answer period, so you will be able to ask me questions. And at the end of that, I'm also going to be raffling the opportunity to have a one-on-one session for me for 30 minutes, which normally for my time, I would charge $250. But I will raffle that as a prize if you stay till the end. So the cost of the webinar is only $25. And you
Right.
get the full range of my experience as a retired judge and a lawyer and as a working mom. So I'm encouraging people to sign up. I'll drop in the chat. It's Munnings Consulting at outlook.com. So if they send an email to Munnings, it's MUNNINGS, consulting as one word, at outlook.com. They can email me there or send a WhatsApp message to 445-4955. Just send me a message and say, hey, I want to sign up, and then I can send you the details. And it's going to be a great session. I'm looking forward to a lot of women showing up. It's going to be after the news, so you would have gotten your kids settled and you would have had your dinner and all of that. And no more than 45 minutes, an hour max, depending on how much questions and answer we get. So this Wednesday, the 25th of March at 8 p.m., and I'll share the online link once you let me know if you want to register.
Please
Yeah.
do so. Thank you
Yes.
so much. And it's great to have you on the show, Judge, once again.
Yes. Thank you so much for the time. Okay.
All right. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm sure you called your friends. You shouldn't have enemies, but just in case you have enemies, call them on the show. We have Baark, and we've been trying to connect with Baark for some time now, and they have been really busy involved in the community. So I'm not going to dive into what they've been doing. I'm going to allow the chairperson of Baark, Miss Laura Kimball, is on our show, and she's going to tell us all the interesting facts about Baark. But just before she does that, we want to say welcome to the show, Ms. Laura Kimball.
Thank you so much, Jackie. We're really happy to be here. And Lissa McComb, who her and I run Baark together, she sends her apologies, but she did have a pet emergency. So anyways, she was really excited to be here as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And so my first question right out of the gate is, who is Ms. Laura Kimball? If you were to describe yourself in, say, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences, the short form, who is Laura Kimball?
I guess, well, I'm a Bahamian and I love my country and I love animals. So, and I guess to give us some background, I was lucky enough to go away to school and I came back here and started working. And my grandfather was very big into philanthropy and, very involved. And so I knew I wanted to do something in the community, whether it be, helping children or animals. So I chose to get involved with with animals because, they don't have a voice. And I feel like there was a great need for that in the Bahamas. So that was 2009 and I actually really got involved because of Lissa. And then we started Baark together in 2009.
Oh, 2009. Oh, that's a while. You've been around for a while. So you mentioned Baark. Tell us a little bit about Baark. What is the mission of Baark?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we started initially because it's at the time, not a lot of people were aware of the pound or the canine control unit. And we heard about some horrible things happening there. And that's run by the government and Ministry of Agriculture. And we sat down and we really wanted to lobby and make changes with the pound. But when we really got involved in meetings, we felt like this is the end of the road of a way bigger problem. And being, young, energetic, proactive ladies that we wanted to go to the root of the problem. And that's where Baark's mission of spay, neuter, and education came about.
Okay, so a lot of persons get Baark confused, I guess, with Bahamas Human Society. So I mentioned to you the fact that in many areas we've heard screams and cries out like, who is in charge of dog control? Who is going to take this? I see you opening. I know you've heard a lot about this. Who is going to take this situation under control? Which organization should I be calling if there is a problem, an overflow of dogs? So tell us the connection with, are you just a volunteer between yourself, Baark, and the ministry, or are you one and the same?
Okay, so I guess, Baark we're all NGOs. Lissa and I are purely volunteers. Most of people involved with, I have a regular job. Lissa has a regular job. Most of us involved with Baark are all volunteers. We do have 3 staff members right now. We're probably going to take on a new vet soon. So it's between 3 and 5 staff members, but we don't, we really rely on volunteers mostly for the work that we do. We are completely separate from the Humane Society, but we work very closely with the Humane Society. So it's easy to confuse us. Both Lissa and I used to sit on the board when Baark was first formed. We were part of the board of the Humane Society. And then because Baark has grown so much, we had to step down. But at the same time, we're very close with most of the board members. We're always collaborating with them, working together. We just did Operation Potcake together. And, we were both members, there was other organizations involved, but we worked together very closely on that. So we're completely separate. We do the Bahamas Humane Society and Baark do get a contribution from the government annually to help us with our work. And we are very grateful for that. We do need more, but because it's a big
Always
job.
Need more, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of work because there's so much demand, it's just never ending. And of course, resources, which is, time and money, are tight.
All right. So if you were to look in our country, so before I ask that question, so if, because this was asked by several persons, if there is a problem, say overflow of dogs in my area, which organization, because spoke about Baark, we spoke about Bahamas Human Society, and of course, I don't know which ministry which ministry within the government also.
It's agriculture. Yeah. Ministry of Agriculture. Yeah.
Ministry of Agriculture. So that's important for persons to know. Which organization should I call? We've spoken now about 3 different organizations. Clarify that for us.
Okay, so that's like not a simple question. It depends on the problem, really. So, and this is where I think doing radio shows like this, education and awareness. And I know one of the questions we sort of discussed was like, what can people do? When you talk about, oh, there's a lot of problems in my neighborhood. Well, what's the root of that problem? Are they own dogs because there's like 3 houses that they're not, they're not fencing in their yard, which is part of the law. The Animal Control Act states that your dogs should be in a fenced in yard. Of course, a lot of people don't follow this, so who's responsible here? Is it like, yeah, so I mean, because if it's own dogs, they really need to talk to the owners. The police should come speak to them. Really, every dog should be licensed. So the police could come, they could speak to them. Of course, this is a little unrealistic because we know that our legislation regarding animal control isn't the best right now. However, and that's why I'm really disappointed that Lissa wasn't able to make it, because she's been working heavily on the legislation side. So that's like one of the responses, right? The other response is, if there's a mummy dog in the neighborhood and someone's quite happy to feed it and it's really not causing a problem, Baark can come and just spay that female so she stops having puppies. Because one of the complaints we have is, man, there's this female dog, she keeps having puppies, the puppies are getting mashed, under the cars or whatever. So we'll come in, we'll spay the dogs so they're not having puppies. Someone's happy enough to feed them, and that dog can live a pretty happy life there, and it'll be okay. And that's sort of is what it is, because we'll get into the Humane Society is so overcrowded right now that it's not, people just want this problem to magically disappear, and it's not a simple answer right now. And until like everybody can come together and work together collaboratively, and it's really a whole multi-pronged like approach to this problem, there's not really a straight answer. We really hate the thought of, if you call animal control, I mean, I hate to say it, those animals are put in a cage and then they're euthanized. So you're basically, it's like the death of the animal to go to animal control. So we really try to avoid, however, if and we hate to say this, but if a dog is seriously a danger to the community, and it's like attacking people, and it's actually, it's like, killed a neighbor's dog or whatever it is, once the necessary people, like, is it an owned dog? Can they secure the dog properly? Was it an accident the dog got out? If it's happening multiple times, that is maybe when animal control has to get involved, unfortunately, until we have like a better solution. So of course, we really, really hate to see innocent dogs euthanized, but if they're a big threat to the community, sometimes it has to happen, unfortunately.
Well, thank you.
So I hope that helps.
I love the fact that you've been very forthright in explaining the fact that it isn't a very simple answer. It depends on the situation. And I think sometimes person presents with various different situation and they just want one simple answer. So you did an excellent job in explaining that you're working on some things, laws need to be amended, and that is being also addressed. So let me give you a typical situation, and then you could probably talk about Operation Pot Cake. I try to exercise, and we walk with it in the Arawak Key in that particular area. And, we have lots of tourists in that area. And I am utterly concerned for the tourists and walking. I've never seen so many dogs in recent times. Is there any explanation as to why there seemed to have been an overflow of dogs in various different areas, like the Arawak areas where we have tourists? And I know that there was a particular incident where the police had to even be called to protect a tourist. So is Baark familiar with this overflow of dogs in respective areas like the Arawaki area? And if Baark is
Yeah.
familiar, how are you helping?
So yes, I mean, of course. So what happens is, and this is something that we need to work together with, you know, hotels, and I can talk a lot about that because we actually have a lot of hotels that have cats. That's another topic. So of course, there's a food source at Arawak Key. There's a lot of food. There's garbage, like there's dumpsters. The tourists feed the dogs. So actually, the tourists, we get so many contacts from tourists coming on cruise ships who want to help the dogs. We have sent, and Lissa with Baark, we have sort of our lanes. Lissa is very much more on the government legislation side and on the rescue side. So we have had requests where somebody was on a cruise ship, went down Junkanoo Beach, saw this dog, was like, I have to, like, I want to rescue this dog. Lissa ended up, we got the dog. It was a very friendly dog. We got it treated, taken care of, and got this dog to Virginia for these people. So really the tourists, like, I feel like we need to work together on a positive. And I know the situation, most of the dogs at Arawak Key are really friendly. I mean, most of our potcakes and the strays, like, they aren't a threat to people. Unfortunately, sometimes if they pack up, like, one can be a problem, and we might have to identify that one and remove it from the pack. But it just takes evaluating to see, like, okay, this is the problem dog, it's causing whatever. And sometimes, again, we don't want to, but if there's, like, people are in danger, most of the time though, they're really friendly and they're not a threat. So it's like that balance of managing, maybe it's like creating a structure where there's like a feeding station and like signs that say you don't need to feed the dogs, they're all treated, they're all vaccinated, all of that stuff. So I just think it's working together to educate everyone involved. So yes, it's just going to happen. I know down by the cruise port, there's a lot of dogs again, because the tourists want to feed the dogs. And we have so many. I mean, I've just gotten a message today. There's a lady coming in on a cruise ship, and she's reached out and she wants to get some Baark paraphernalia. And she's like, I'm coming on a cruise ship. I would rather give my dollars to a charity for animals than spending it at a store. So I'm going to meet up with her and get her a t-shirt and some bags that she's buying. So, I think it's a really good opportunity for everyone, and people love our potcakes.
So that would have been my follow-up question in terms of, do you think it's a positive PR for the Bahamas or negative? Because I'm very concerned sometimes when you see the tourists looking at our dogs, and sometimes based on the expression, I cannot tell whether it's positive or negative.
Well, I think that if we had, that's where, we did actually, nothing has come up from it, but I was in some contact with people at the port. Like, you can turn really positive situations. Like, it's going to happen that there are potcakes. So why not put up signs? These are our potcakes. They are all spayed and neutered. They are fed like once a day. We are like, the port department or whoever like gives to Baark. Yes, we know we have like a problem, but we're part of the solution. I think that's a big thing, so I can speak to specifically the cats as well. We work with Atlantis. We're like on like a sort of stipend with them, where they, like, we've done a lot of cat trapping over. I'm sure everybody's aware, people like to dump cats on Paradise Island. They have for like since the 60s. So, and because it's a pretty contained community, the cats flourish. So we have spayed and neutered all of the cats. Atlantis works with us, and if they see other cats that are not spayed or neutered, they'll do them under Baark. And then, but what hotels found was they would round them up and kill them. Well, one, guess what is running around after they kill all the cats? something the tourists really don't want to see.
Yes.
Are big fat rats.
Rats.
So, that's a problem. And so many people have seen that it creates the vacuum effect. So it never solves the problem. So, and then most of the tourists, I mean, I'm not saying everybody loves cats, but a lot of people who travel, they like to see them. So I've been to an animal welfare conference where people like, these hotels will set up a little thing that's like a cat, like, feeding station. And so the tourists know that the cats are being taken care of. And I think that's like the big thing that they do want to see. And we've never really embarked on it, but, if the Ministry of Tourism, like we could do a lot more to promote what we are trying to do for the animals, to actually like publicize ourselves as the Bahamas, to trying to make things better for animals in the Bahamas.
Yes, because knowledge is power. And for those who've just joined us, we're talking about animal rights. And I know some of you on the program like animal rights on a Sunday. Why we're having a conversation? We know that, God, they were created and they were created to be protected and not to be abused. And so even from a spiritual perspective, when God created the animals, he provided protection for our animals. And so we want to, as Bahamians and people of the Bahamas, we want to do the very same. And hence we thought it fitting, along the theme, knowledge is power, to invite Baark and to have a discussion. And so hence our topic today, animal rights. So going back to our animals and a recent project you had, I previously reached out to you and you were quite busy, involved, I think, with Operation Pot Cake. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that operation, how it came about, what it involved, and what were the results of such project.
Okay, I will try to summarize it because it's a lot. So Operation Pot Cake, it was born in 2011 when Kim Aroner, myself, and Lissa McComb went to the Caribbean Animal Welfare Conference in Puerto Rico. And we met the lady called Emma Clifford, who was head of a group called Animal Balance. And it was our dream. And, a lot of people had talked about doing this big spay and neuter clinic, mass like spay and neuter. We do smaller clinics, but like, let's do something really big. So in 2013, we did our first initiative and it was really big. And then 2014, we did a smaller one. Now it is so much work that like the few people involved, and then from there, Baark was really growing. We were really busy. It's just so much to put together. And of course, we also had a distemper outbreak. Life was busy, kind of recovered from distemper, and we were going along. Not long after that, we had Hurricane Dorian, which really like was a lot on the animal, welfare. So anyways, things have like the population has really grown again, and Kim really wanted to do another Operation Pot Cake. So with some coercion on Lissa and I's, because Lissa and I knew how much work it was going to be. So we started planning Operation Pot Cake in May of 23. And it takes so much work to put it together, but we did it, and we're really grateful. I know it's Sunday and we couldn't have done it without the support of some churches because they have amazing community churches. So we were at Our Lady of the Holy Souls. So Father Duca opened up the church there, the church hall there. That was amazing. And then Lissa and I headed up that clinic. Lissa headed up the clinic at Native Baptist Church on St. James Road off Kemp Road. So we were really grateful for, that's just the community.
In the community. Right.
Yeah. And so anyways, we had 5 clinics across the island. We had Kemp Road, we had East Street at Our Lady's. We had the Punch. I'm sure you guys know the old Punch is located. And then we had Colors, Junkanoo Shack out on Faith Avenue in Carmichael area. And then we had cats were done at the Humane Society. We had our mobile clinic there for Baark. So, and we worked for 4 days on, and then 2-day break, and then 4 days. And we spayed and neutered 20, oh my gosh, what's the final number? It was like, about 2,400 animals. I'm surprised the number is not imprinted in my head, but anyways, it was a lot. Yeah.
2,400?
Yeah, 2,400 dogs and
Massive.
cats, or 2,300. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the number. I think it was like 2,415 is what I think, because I know we're very close to 2,500. Yeah, so I mean, each clinic averaged about 70 animals a day, give or take, with 5 clinics. Yeah, and I mean, it's a lot of work. Because Baark has been doing so much work with spay and neuter that it was a lot collecting, because people who were willing to bring in their animals, they have come into Baark. So now it's really hitting the pavement, going out, collecting these animals, bringing them. I mean, we did have some people bringing them in, of course, but yeah, so it was a lot, but it was really worth it. And I think the biggest take home for me was, even though I feel like Baark is very heavily focused on the root of the problem, which is spay and neuter, we need to do even more for education. Like, education has to be the primary focus, and then the spay and neuter. And then, of course, it's impossible not to have some rescue and adoption, even though that is not Baark's focus. It's, when you're out there and you see an animal in need, you can't leave it. So, we end up with that as like a sort of side hustle.
Okay. I mean, you, I think you're still there.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Right.
Oh,
Okay. Your camera went down. That's okay. That's
oh,
good. I
okay.
thought I lost connection. All right. So that's a mouthful. Very comprehensive, which is great. Great work. So you spoke about education. And so, in terms of educating our society, what will be the thrust in terms of, I mean, what is near and dear in terms of your heart, in terms of educating the public? And well, starting with our children, let's start with our children and the education for our children, and then
Yeah.
education for the wider community.
Yeah. So, of course, to go back a little bit, so we were given a mobile clinic. This is, our focus was very much on getting our mobile clinic up and running for the last couple of years. And again, we are short on people. Actually, I did see, yep, Raj is on here. Raj is actually on our education community committee, and he helped during Operation Potcake. So, we have a new lady who is heading up our education committee, because the current volunteers at Baark are just flat out, and we just couldn't do it. We did, during COVID, write a coloring book and we had a Bahamian artist do the illustrations. I think it was June Colley, and one of our volunteers wrote the story. So we have a little coloring book. We want to get, of course, with COVID and everything, we kind of fallen out of the routines of getting into the schools. So we want to get back into the schools. Cheryl Cartwright, who I know is a listener, we had done one, it was like we did a community, anyways, we did this like great little like thing with Centerville Primary. And so we want to do more in the schools for the kids. That's definitely a big goal.
Okay, so just let's put a plug right there. In terms of the schools, what are you teaching the children? Is it being responsible for your animals, how to take care of your animals? Talk a little bit about what are you teaching the students?
Yeah, so it's like essentially, and I don't do the education program, but it's essentially like a 3-point message. It's safety around animals, because we acknowledge that a lot of our kids have had a negative interactions with dogs. A lot of kids have been bitten. So it's teaching safety around animals. So that's a big part of it. And then it's responsible animal guardianship, of like what's essential, what you need to do if you have a dog or a cat, and the importance of spay and neuter. So that's basically the message.
That's my boy.
Okay, so that's for our children. And let's talk a little bit about the wider community. Education for the wider community, what that looks like.
That's you.
I think someone's open.
Huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, actually, that's okay, right.
So just basically, I mean, one of the things that I would like to do, that, if we can get some time, sort of mid-year this year, I would love to see billboard, like a whole campaign with billboards up, or the roundabouts, regular ads in the newspaper, radio ads, just like public service announcements, just like bringing it to like more like in everybody's awareness, a big thing is just educating people to spay and neuter their pets. There's so many myths surrounding that. People believe they should have puppies or kittens because they don't understand sort of the bigger effect on what's going on. And then the other thing is just awareness about taking your dog or cat to the vet once a year, flea and tick treatment, heartworm. I mean, so many of our dogs have heartworm and tick diseases, and it's just the thing is, most people truly just don't know. When we're out in the community, people are so grateful to be educated. We have an amazing lady who is our outreach coordinator. I mean, we have an amazing team at Baark. We have 3 stellar ladies, and they are constantly educating. I can share a really cool story. I mean, a couple from Operation Puckache of where animals were really being neglected, but working with the people and getting these animals healthy together with them, and not taking the animal from them, but working with them and teaching them to have pride in their dog and how to take care of them. And it just changes everything. And it's really amazing.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I just want to pause in the interest of time. We have about 15 more minutes, and we just want to go into our Zoom room on Facebook. Is there any question based on any information shared? Or if you have a question that we've not addressed and you would like to ask, I just want to give you the opportunity in the interest of time. Anybody in our Zoom room on Facebook would like to ask a question at this particular time? We will be happy to unmute your mic and give you that opportunity.
Also,
Good
if anybody,
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go right ahead.
Yes, I wanted to say I had the privilege of working on with Laura, Laura
I
and
listened to it. I listened to it before. I listened to it until it's finished. Just to do it back. We have a conference.
Just one second. Just one second. Just one second, Mr. Roger. Someone is on our mic. Can you please close your mic, please? Our technician, can you please check and see if there's someone with an open mic? Thank you so very much. Go right ahead, Mr. Roger.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I had the privilege of working with Laura and Stephanie and other members of Baark during Operation Potcake, and the work they're doing and the need is so great. And you get one of the things we did was go about in the community educating folks about animal care, and we see the need of animals tied up and lacking water and food.
Wow,
And
basic necessities.
Yes, and people thinking it's okay to have animals tied up all day and not getting exercise, or just you see animals malnourished or just roaming
That's
around.
a good one. That's a good one. Exercise. I mean, I've seen animals tied up. How many persons are taking, their animal to be, for exercise to strengthen the pet? Because, if you just tie the animal up, it's just not conducive to growth. So that's a good one, Roger. Go right ahead.
Yes, and also if those that want to get involved in education or supporting with their funds, they could reach out to Baark and of course Laura. So, there's a great need, and we need as much volunteers as possible. So get involved.
Get
Thank
involved.
you.
All right. So there we have it. Laura, you have someone coming up bold, strong, and courageous, promoting your services. And so thanks very much for what you do for our community. So can you share a particularly inspiring story or an example of a successful animal rescue or rehabilitation? Share with us one of those stories pulling from your files.
Okay, so I'm gonna share because I did send you that little picture. I don't know if you guys, if you
Yes, I saw it. Amazing picture. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
a miracle,
it is
actually.
a way. Yeah, if there's a way to post that. So Roger, and I'm going to share that we've had so many amazing stories, but Roger was really incredible and really the foundation. We did change the logo for Operation Puckcake is Roger's face. This is Lissa's dog who did unfortunately pass away recently, but he had a really long, amazing life thanks to Lissa rescuing him. They rescued him in 2013 and he was in awful condition. They really thought they were picking him up to euthanize him because he was, I mean, completely like he had no hair. He had such bad mange. His leg was like his front leg was like twisted and broken. I mean, he had blood running down his face from the skin cracking and the mange and everything. And he was just, and Lissa saw like a little spark in him. And she's like, I'm going to try to save him. And he lived an incredible life. And you know, that really started. Lissa always rescues the mange cases and the most broken animals, and she gives them an amazing life and just shows, you know, and that's one thing people out there in, you know, especially Nassau and the other islands. I mean, Nassau is definitely the worst condition we see the animals from all our work in the islands. But, you know, you see these animals suffering terrible mange, and it's easy to treat them and they look beautiful. And so again, it's just education and showing how easy it is to treat them.
Well, you've shared some great stories. Sympathy. I'm glad that, you know, he had a full life, but I know when grief comes with losing an animal, so sympathy to her. Our deepest sympathy on behalf of Transforming Lives. Now, in the interest of time, let's quickly talk about how can the public better assist your organization. We do not want to end this conversation without giving the public some steps that they can take to support. Roger mentioned one of them, but just share with us a bit more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's huge, right? Because it honestly takes a village, and I've heard somebody talk about getting ahead of the curve, and we cannot get ahead of the curve of like the overpopulation of animals until everybody like, you know, almost is on the same page. So one, spay or neuter your dog or cat. Like, you know, so many people are just like, oh, it doesn't matter. My cat or dog needs to have a litter. They don't. They are not, you know, anyways, I can get all into that, but please just spay or neuter your dog.
Link it there. What would you say the reason why? Just spayed? You said no, they don't need. Tell us a little reason. I can see a little passion around that. So
yeah, well, so you know, males are, you know, our men are attached to male dogs not being neutered. You know, dogs do not mate for pleasure. The only animals that do are humans and dolphins. So they personify that into animals. So there's no pleasure. It is just purely instinctual. So that is a big myth. And so, you know, our men out there, no, I don't want you to neuter my dog. I want him to have fun. I'm like,
I've heard that.
So that is a huge myth. Then there's like, oh, she needs to have puppies. Like there is, you know, it's not like a human being, like yes, of course they have their instinct or whatever. They don't need to have a litter. There are 600 dogs and cats at the Humane Society that need homes. So just please be responsible.
100.
Oh yeah, it's insane. And then there's you know, tons in foster, and there's smaller rescues. So we do not need more puppies and kittens. And then of course the breeding issue. You know, if you like, it's a really tough topic, and I know you don't need to breed your dog. So many people think, oh, I have a cute little Shih Tzu, let me breed it. Please don't. Like, just there's too many. And we get pure breed, we get Shih Tzus all the time in the worst conditions. I mean, it's so sad. You know, you have to have a lot of time, be educated before you purchase a dog or you adopt a dog, because you don't know how much time it takes. Like we were talking about, you need to have time in your day to play with and exercise that dog. So if you are busy and, you know, the other thing is you cannot, oh, my kids want a dog. It's their responsibility. You cannot expect your child to take on the responsibility of a pet. If you want to get a family pet, you have to acknowledge that is your responsibility. And you cannot expect a child to be responsible for a living dog or cat, you know, or any other animal.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so I mean, so those are really big. I mean, you know, I wish we could talk sense into these people out there breeding dogs. Like, there's no such thing as a responsible breeder at this point, with the amount of euthanasia throughout the entire world and like the number of unwanted animals. We just really are trying to teach people not to not to breed their dogs, and we want them to spay and neuter. Of course, that's a bit of a battle. So that's the biggest thing. You know, the other thing is, if you do not have the time for a dog and a cat, do not get one. Like, you don't have to have one, just don't get one. Of course, donating to Baark or the Humane Society, we always need money. And as Raj mentioned, we need volunteers as well. We really need volunteers for our education committee and also just helping in general. So if you're interested in getting involved, I'm sure Jackie can share our contact information and website and everything. And just also being compassionate. Like, if you see an animal in need, like, please call somebody. I know it's sometimes hard to reach someone. You know, the Humane Society, so they really are the people to call if there's an injured animal. And some people are like, oh, I called them, they didn't answer. I mean, the staff at the Humane Society are absolutely swamped. So, like, call like 7 people, like, just don't give up, you know? So try and do your part. If you can foster, if you might not be able to take on a dog full time, we are desperate for fosters. So that's a really big way to help. And then, of course, adoptions. Like, please do not buy a dog. We get all kinds of dogs that need homes. So, you know, please adopt. Of course, we love our pot cake, the absolute best. But you know, if you're interested in a little house dog or a smaller dog, like the Humane Society gets them all.
Okay, so adoption is available. If one was to be interested in adoption, that's just going to the Bahamas Human Society, or reaching out to your organization. Is it Bahamas Human Society?
Yes, for the most part, the adoption side is the Humane Society. Yeah.
Okay. And do you know, in terms of, is it as rigorous as like adopting a child? Do you know anything about the process?
Yeah. So, I mean, you do have to go and fill out a form. And then if you're getting a dog, you need to have a house check. You know, and again, don't adopt a cat or a dog if you don't have the financial means. Like, you have to be realistic. And I know things are very expensive, but you have to have, you know, the funds to take it to the vet each year, or when unexpected things come up, the time in your day. So yes, so you need to fill out some information. They come and do a house check. You have to have a closed-in yard to adopt a dog. And
of course.
All right, great information. I just want to we have just a few more minutes on the program. Once again, we're talking to Ms. Laura. She's from Baark. She's outlined the important services they've been providing on behalf of our country. And she's been talking about some of the challenges that we face in dealing with our animal crisis. She's mentioned the fact that our animals have rights and that they're to protect those rights. So if you have any questions in our last, I want to make sure I incorporate as many questions as possible, or comments. We have about 3 more minutes on the show. Is there anybody else that'd like to make a comment or have a question? Anyone else on the in the room have a question? Dave, what about you?
No, I think we get 2 or 3 minutes. We just got to get ready to sign off. Actually, 2 more minutes left.
We have to get ready. All right. So let me say thank you on behalf of Transforming Lives to Ms. Kimball. Ms. Kimball, let's just give you the opportunity to give us your closing remarks. What would you like our public to remember as a result of this conversation? Over to you, Ms. Kimball.
Thank you so much. And we really appreciate you guys having us on the show. It's really, really great. And we just want to remind everyone, sometimes people think, oh, they're just dogs or whatever. But if we educate our kids and adults to have, and as you mentioned, everybody is God's creatures. Dogs and cats are included in that. And if we teach everybody to be compassionate to the dogs and the cats, it turns like, a compassionate child is going to be a more compassionate adult. So it's a really, really important, just for our nation to be more kind, as we really see some, serious societal issues here. It's really practicing kindness to all.
Wow, that's an excellent way to end our discussion. Practicing kindness to our animals. It has been our pleasure, Ms. Kimball, to have you on the show. Thank you for the valuable information. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you back again. I know my sister was one of those persons that was waiting for you to come on the show, and unfortunately, she's in another meeting. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to extend that invitation once again, and she will have the opportunity to ask her questions. You've been on the show Transforming Lives, and we say a big thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our discussion has been about animal rights. We've had the one and only Miss Kimball on the show, busy Miss Kimball on the show, providing us with very useful information. And once again, we say thank you. Dave, over to you.
Thanks very much. You've been listening to the program Transforming Lives in Global 99.5 Cable TV 974. We here every Sunday 4 to 5. I want to remind you this coming tomorrow, we're asking all the men, Chapel on the Hill. It's a non-Christian, non-denominational program where men get together and share the topic. Do men cry? Should men cry? Why do men cry? And how they cry? Pastor Randy Hanna will be the speaker for about 50 minutes. We have questions and answers. Then we will have our backgammon, dominoes, chess, or whatever kind of board games you like. You bring it. We have some light refreshments provided. Thanks, everyone, for joining on the program. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. We'll have the police on, so you don't want to miss it. It's an Easter weekend. So in addition to the spiritual, we'll talk about some of the programs that the police is putting on, some technology that they want to share. Dave Williams, Jackie Gardner on the program Transforming Lives, Global 99.5, every Sunday, 4 to 5. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So we look after the traffic.
There you go. All right.